assessment that I am going to do is going to have my students be teaching their peers sonnets from Shakespearean sonnets for grade 11. So my example procedure directions would be: you're the teacher. You have been given the opportunity to educate your classmates. You will select one of the Shakespearean sonnets found at opensourceshakespeare.org and explicate the sonnet to the class. You will have to deconstruct the sonnet down to its base components and explain how everything fits together. So the teaching how-to, the kind of procedure that I'll give them, is they will identify the rhyme scheme on the board for each line, and in doing so, say the words the way that Shakespeare intended them to be said. Like in the one, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It's not temperate, it's tempore, the kind of a thing. While reading the sonnet to the class, you must decipher the figurative language in Shakespeare uses in his sonnets and give a modern-day translation of what he's writing about in this particular sonnet. So the objectives. Students will be able to translate the meaning of the figurative language in a Shakespearean sonnet into modern English. It doesn't have to be academic English. It can be, their own vernacular. Students will analyze and sequence a Shakespearean sonnet based on the English poetic form, which is A, B, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, 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 with the rhyme coupled at the end, G, G. And then if they want extra credit, they can do stressed, unstressed, and actually form out the iambic pentameter. The students will also perform a recitation of their chosen Shakespearean sonnet, rhyming the words that Shakespeare intended. So my standards I'll be hitting is reading literatures 3, 4, and 6. So the first one: analyze the impact of the author's choices regarding how to develop and relate the elements of a story, poem, or drama. Examples where a story is set, how the action is ordered, how the character is introduced and developed. Determine the figurative and connotative meanings of words and phrases. Analyze a case in which grasping the point of view requires distinguishing what is directly stated in a text from what is really meant. So sarcasm, satire, irony, that kind of stuff. Speaking and listening 3, evaluate the speaker's point of view, reasoning, and use of evidence in rhetoric, assessing the stance, premises, links among ideas, word choice, points of emphasis, and tone used. And then language 5, demonstrating understanding of figurative language, word relationships, and nuances in word meanings. I have my rubric right up there, what I'll be grading them on. It's from 1 to 4, and I'll be looking at 4 different aspects: that they got the poetic form down incorrectly, that they translated as well as they could, or if they did not, how well they spoke, and the presentation, the overall presentation. So an example would be, in the poetic form, they listed the stressed and unstressed syllables. They listed the octave, the three quatrains, sorry, and the rhyming couplet. Translations, as I'll show in the example later. Speaking, stumbling over the words like I'm doing, and then presentation, how much they actually are doing the thing like I'm doing right now. So an example would be, let me just DocCam. You gonna work for me? All right, here we go. So right here I have sonnet 106. Right. So what they would have to do is they'd have to recite this to the class. So, when in the chronicle of wasted time, I see descriptions of the fairest wights, and beauty making beautiful old rhyme in praise of ladies dead and lovely knights. Then in the blazon of sweet beauty's best, of foot, of hand, of lip, of eye, of brow, I see their antique pen would have expressed even such a beauty as you master now. So all their praises are but prophecies, and for they look but with divining eyes, they had not skill enough your worth to sing. For we which now behold these present days had eyes to wonder, but lacked tongues to praise. So if I could just, I'm going to grab my pen so I can do this. So after they perform the recitation, this will of course be on the whiteboard, so it's easier, but I'll just do this on the DocCam. They have to show where the quatrains are. Two, three, the couplet, the rhyme scheme, so that's A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G. And then they'll have to give translations after they've done the full recitation. So the first line, when in the chronicle of wasted time, with the background knowledge that we would have from our first day in the unit, they would know that he's specifically talking about Petrarch's Canzoniere, right, and the stories of the sonnets of Laura and the praising of her. So in the chronicle of wasted time is when he's reading Petrarch's poetry book. The second line, I see descriptions of the fairest whites. I see descriptions of the most lovely and unfortunate people, a white being a very unfortunate person. And beauty making beautiful old rhyme, essentially a pretty girl causing poetry to be written about her, which is as Laura was. In praise of ladies dead and lovely knights, praising dead women in a time long since past. So we're talking, that's about 350 years between Petrarch and Shakespeare. Then in the blazon of sweet beauty's best, displaying the best qualities of the girl when he's writing in the poems, of hand of foot, of lip of eye of brow, pretty self-explanatory, talking about her entire body. Everything about her is beautiful, even down to her eyebrows. I see their antique pen would have expressed. The witnesses in the poem that their old and antiquated pen would have written about, even such a beauty as you master now, even a pretty girl like you. Now he's gotten to the subject of the poem, which is the girl he's writing about. So all their praises are but prophecies. All the nice words they wrote before about Laura is actually about you, the current girl, but future to them. Of this our time, all your prefiguring. Yeah, a girl of our time. The other pretty girl was a precursor, and for they looked upon with divining eyes. They looked upon her, but could only see you. They had not skill enough your worth to sing. They could not compose poetry befitting your beauty. For we which now behold these present days, we now see you in these present days, had eyes to wonder but lacked tongues to praise, only to stare in amazement, but with no skills to actually compose decent poetry.